My name's Gillan Wood. I'm the Associate Director for Education and Outreach at the Institute for Sustainability, Energy and the Environment. And it's my pleasure to have been involved in the organisation of the conference and to welcome you all here. Now, there's no doubt that we're living in an era of mass ecocide, and also that ecocide is a close cousin to homicide. It's worth reflecting on the historical moment that we live in the aftermath of a global climate strike, some thousands of participants of which were here marching through the Quad just a few days ago. Also to the east of us, there's the UN Climate Summit, for which there's been apparently very little meaningful progress. In the words of Greta Thunberg, all empty words. Now, I see this Congress, our event, as being in a kind of critical dialogue with events such as the global climate strike and the UN Climate Summit. But of course, it's also so much more. Issues, the intersections of environment and social justice extend beyond climate. Climate justice is an important theme, but only one of many that we'll be addressing in the next day and a half. And as for empty words, there'll be no empty words spoken from this podium in the next day and a half. We have a stellar program of speakers, but this event is not pre-programmed. It is not scripted. I don't know what any of our speakers are going to say. What I do know is that we've invited a terrific program of scholars who are passionate about their work and about the intersections of environmentalism and social justice, and that what they have to say to us and for us in the next day and a half will be provocative, stimulating, and will be full of ideas about how to create a more just and sustainable future for us all. All I know is that I'm going to learn a lot and be inspired, and that you will too. To get things off to a start, I'd like to introduce the Vice Chancellor for Research here at the University of Illinois, Professor Susan Martinis, to formally welcome you to the 2019 iSEE Congress. Thank you, Susan.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's really my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the 6th Annual iSEE Congress. As the VCR, the Vice Chancellor for Research, a biochemistry faculty member, and a proud alumni of this University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, this annual conference and the outcomes that are going to come out of all the very thoughtful and in-depth discussion is really of particular interest and importance to me. And I would have to echo that it's not only important here in Urbana, but important around the nation and globally. I want to congratulate Professor Wood and all of the faculty and the staff and affiliates of the Institute for Sustainability, Energy and the Environment for assembling this terrific body of scholars, policymakers, activists, innovators, and thought leaders around the theme of environmental, social, and sustainability justice. Couldn't be more timely, more appropriate theme for the amazing challenges that we're facing nationally and globally, and also locally. Back in the late 2013, iSEE was launched here at Illinois as part of our last 5-year strategic plan. It was a way to leverage the vast campus-wide resources and expertise in sustainability, energy, and the environment to help the university research solutions, true solutions, and innovations to grand societal challenges. The Institute has also made discussion and collaboration a major component of its research and educational portfolio, knowing full well that open and critically honest discussions might perhaps lead to some solutions that are considerate of all viewpoints of societal and the earth, of society and the earth in general. I think we all know that collective thought, collective discussion really yields the best solutions. iSEE, I have to say, it wasn't founded under me. I've only been in this position for about 2 years. It was founded under my predecessor, Peter Schiffer, with help from former Chancellor Phyllis Weiss. You know, I think iSEE had kind of a blank slate with some but big expectations. And I have to say, in my current role, I see iSEE everywhere. I see it in thinking about how campus buildings are going up, thinking about foliage around the campus, putting bicycles on campus as an alternate mode of transportation, recycling. It's engaging students, it's engaging F&S, it's engaging faculty. So just a tremendous success. And I like to acknowledge that at the beginning of the 6th Congress for iSEE. Standing here today, you know, just 6 years removed, you know, I really want to recognize and applaud iSEE and its leaders and all the people that have been engaged in it as one of our really biggest success stories. And I think there's some big successes that are trumpeted out there in the newspapers and the popular press, but it's also the successes that you work every day in and out as you work toward, you know, a sustainable globe. One of the most powerful tools that universities have is the ability to really convene individuals, institutions, organizations, agencies, and communities around that can discuss critical societal issues. This Congress and the more than 300 people from all sectors that we expect to drop in and out over the next couple days will clearly demonstrate that power and bring a lot of collective thought to the table. As the Vice Chancellor for Research, it's my job to support a research environment on campus that encourages and supports excellence through diversity, inclusion, and free inquiry. So I'm particularly pleased that this sustainability justice event is really at the core of all those values. As we look at environmental and societal justice issues over the next couple days, I'm going to dive into some specifics, but also look at things with a global lens. I can tell that from the assembly of scholars that are gathered to present, and also from just looking out in the room at all the diverse backgrounds of people that will help with the discussion. We hope that the new insights and new collaborations will form during these discussions that can help us all reach a more sustainable and just future. So just in closing, I want to thank you for coming here today, for taking that time, for inspiring each other and inspiring those outside of the room, and welcome to the iSEE conference today, and have a great couple days. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Susan. The iSEE Congress wouldn't be possible without support from the campus, from our unit sponsors and partners, and our organising committee. So I'd just like to briefly take this moment to thank the College of Law, the Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Sciences, the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Economics, the Department of Educational Policy, Organisation and Leadership, the Program in Women and Gender in Global Perspectives, and the Illinois Program for Research in the Humanities, all for their generous co-partnership with us in staging this Congress. I'm also personally thankful to the organising committee who helped me put together the program, and that includes my colleagues Madhu Khanna, Amy Ando, Trevor Birkenholtz, Jeffrey Braun, Pradeep Dillon, Paolo Gardoni, Zuza Giller, Mackenzie Johnson, Dan Miller, and Bob Morrissey. I'd also like to thank Amy Rosenberry and our brilliant communications team, led by Tony Mancuso. Now it's time for me to hand over the mic to Professor Mackenzie Johnson from the University of Illinois, who will give us some opening remarks on the conference theme of sustainability justice. She will then moderate our first panel, the title of which is What is Sustainability Justice and Who Decides? Mackenzie Johnson, she's Assistant Professor of Natural Resources and Environmental Sciences here at Illinois. Her research and teaching focus on global environmental politics, environmental justice, and human security. Thanks, Mackenzie.
Thank you. I would like to open with the land acknowledgement statement provided by the Native American House at the University of Illinois. I begin by recognizing and acknowledging that we are on the lands of the Peoria, Kaskaskia, Piankashaw, Weya, Miami, Muscooten, Odawa, Sauk, Meskwaki, Kickapoo, Potawatomi, Ojibwe, and Chickasaw nations. These lands were the traditional territory of these native nations prior to their forced removal. These lands continue to carry the stories of these nations and their struggles for survival and identity. As a land-grant institution, the University of Illinois has a particular responsibility to acknowledge the people of these lands, as well as the histories of dispossession that have allowed for the growth of this institution for the past 150 years. We are also obligated to reflect on and actively address these histories and the role that this university has played in shaping them. This acknowledgement and the centering of Native peoples is a start as we move forward for the next 150 years. We are living in an age of authoritarianism, of climate apocalypse, of the sixth mass extinction, of post-truth politics. We are living in an era of technology, of identity politics, of snowflakes. We are living in the era of the Anthropocene. There are many suggestions as to what to call the era in which we currently live, many of them designed to evoke existential dread in the face of urgent and overwhelming problems. Increasingly, I see students besieged by the depth and breadth of their eco-anxieties. Their questions reflect the pain and uncertainty they feel inside. Is it ethical to have children? What kind of future might they face? Are we too late to stop climate change? What can I do in the face of the nearly daily onslaught of pictures relaying the suffering and death brought by droughts, fires, famines, forced migration, hurricanes, and lead poisoning? What do I do when these plagues come for me? These are legitimate questions and worries, and I have them too. But I think many of the terms we use to describe our current era are misleading. What if we paid attention to the possibility that we currently live in an era of transformative justice, of sustainability justice? What if we placed the social, economic, and political trends we observe today within the context of the massive and massively successful Indigenous, Black, Latinx, genderqueer, differently abled, more than human youth mobilization we have seen over the last week, the last year, 10 years, 50 years? What if we all became allies in these fights? Might not hope and anger be more appropriate expressions of our current collective reality than fear and anxiety? Indeed, hope emerges from the tireless and taken for granted work of environmental defenders across the planet who battle daily to preserve their lives, their livelihoods, and their relations with the non-human world. Indigenous protesters and their allies at Standing Rock, Lo es la vie, Black Lives Matter, Berta Sequeres in Honduras, Extinction Rebellion, Ricky Renuncia protests in Puerto Rico, Indigenous activists in the Philippines and across the Amazon, Jocelyn Charger and Greta Thunberg, just to name a few. The local work of environmental justice activists has given rise to a thunderous global movement that threatens the very foundation of the neoliberal world order. Alongside hope, there is also anger. Anger at the brutal repression of the very individuals and movements that promise the hope of change, often at the hand of the state on behalf of corporate interests. According to Global Witness, more than 3 people were murdered each week in 2018, with countless more criminalized for defending their land and our environment. In the United States, at least 8 states across the Midwest and South have passed laws that introduce heavy jail fines and penalties for protesting critical energy infrastructure. You should read here, pipelines and oil refineries. While similar legislation has been introduced in at least a dozen other states, including Illinois. As we speak, indigenous struggles in every part of the world remind us that the imperialist ideology which drives the colonial project is alive and well. This should infuriate everyone, but it should also give us hope. Such heavy-handed tactics are necessary only for the most potent of threats. We live in an age of sustainability justice. The idea that all lives matter will matter only when Black Lives Matter is gaining ground. There is no time for fear and anxiety. As academics, it is our privilege to bear witness to, analyze, and document these ongoing struggles. Echoing the land acknowledgement statement I started with, it is also our particular responsibility to acknowledge the people and non-peoples engaged in these struggles, as well as the histories of dispossession that have made such struggles so critical to our future collective well-being. In this Congress, I encourage all of you, scholars and audience members alike, to engage both collectively and individually with the concept of sustainability justice in ways that advance scholarship and promote broader learning. However, I also challenge you to think about the ways in which the scholarship that emerges from this Congress can transcend the structures of power that often shield elite academic institutions from the very forces of transformative change they claim to advance. I ask each of you, how will you become an ally in these fights? Thank you.